Hi there. We're ready to roll. You're very welcome to type in the chat if you have sound and pictures, so I know that everything is working okay. Just a minute. So, welcome. My name is Merete. What we're going to be talking about today is trailer loading of horses. If you're watching live, you can of course ask your questions during the webinar. And if you're watching the replay, please feel free to use the chat box to email me questions. If you just put your question in there and type send, then it will go directly to my mailbox and I can answer you. So, as I said, my name is Merete. I'm a riding instructor from Denmark who has a lot of experience in training horses to go into trailers and to lots of other stuff. And one of the problems I often face, or my students often face, is trailer loading. Trailer loading is, I think, the single biggest problem for horse owners. I did this webinar in Danish the other day, and I had 600 people sign up. We were approximately 200 people live. And it's huge. It really is a big issue for horse people. So if you have trailer troubles, you're not alone. It's really important to know that you're not the only one out there who has troubles to get the horse into the box. You're not the only one struggling or being stressed out that your horse, if you have to go to a show or you have to go somewhere else, your horse won't come with you. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to provide you, first we're going to, the agenda for today is first we're going to talk a bit about what kind of problems can you have with trailer loading. Then I'm going to tell you a bit about the learning theory. And my main focus is on reinforcement. How can we effectively and horse-friendly train the horse so it will go into the trailer and that will be okay. So we have to put in a bit of theory there, and then I'm going to look at the practical application of the learning theory. So I will give you a lot of ideas as to how to get out there, get the practice and the training going, and get the horse into the trailer. So I will just post a link in the chat to the slides I'm going to use, because then you can download them at your convenience and have them to look at as well. Great. So let's go. So the first part is the different kind of trailer troubles. What kind of problems can you have? I often meet people who say, either live students or people who write with their problems at the internet and Facebook or somewhere else, that their horse is just stubborn. He just stands there, and then they can't get him to go any further, but he's not scared, he's just stubborn. Most of the horses I see standing here in that position in front of the trailer and saying, no thanks, I won't go any further, they're not stubborn. They are to some degree scared. Of course, they can be stubborn, and actually, I don't think horses have the brain capacity to be stubborn, but but they can be unwilling to go into the trailer because maybe the motivation to stay out of the trailer is a lot higher than the motivation to go into the trailer, and it's a lot higher than the motivation to follow your forward signal. So if the horse is just unwilling but not scared, then we need to really practice the basics, the forward signal, the stop signal, the backup signal, the turn right, turn left signals. So we have a horse with really good understanding of the basic signals. When we have established that, then an unwilling but unscared horse should load easily. If he still doesn't load easily, then probably he's not all that happy with being in the trailer as we thought in the first place. The best way to check if your horse is just unwilling or he is actually a bit more stressed, well, of course, the best way would be to put a heart rate monitor on him. So you could see when he goes closer to the trailer, does the heart rate rise? That is not really an everyday practical solution for most horse owners. Most of us don't have a heart rate monitor for a horse. But maybe if you have an endurance riding friend or something like that, you could borrow a horse heart rate monitor and try and see, well, does his heart rate go up as he gets closer to the float or the horse trailer? Another trick, and that's very easy to perform, is if your horse is usually taking treats, and you can use treats in your training and he will eat them, take him up to the trailer and at the place where he usually stops, check will he still eat his treats. Because we have in our body and in the horse's body, every mammals have two different nervous systems. We have the sympathetic and the parasympathetic. The sympathetic rises when we go into a stressful situation, and it dampens the digestive system. It lowers the amount of energy the body will use on the digestive system. That is also why if we have to go to an exam or something like that, maybe we can't eat our breakfast beforehand because we are getting too nervous. So if we can get the horse to take a treat, it will have two effects. One, it will show us that he's not totally stressed out. Two, it will actually activate his parasympathetic nervous system and make him a bit more relaxed. If, on the other hand, he will not take the treat, then it shows us that even if he's standing here and looks calm, he isn't really calm. If a horse that normally takes treats nice and eats them, if he gets close enough to the float and then he doesn't want to eat his treats, then we know that he is actually stressed out about being close to the float and having to go into it. So we need him to be more confident around the horse trailer. We need him to find out that this is actually quite a nice place to be, and the best thing to use for training the horse to being sympathetic towards the horse trailer, to being relaxed and calm, that is feed. So if you have a horse that is either is standing here rearing and is really scared about the horse float, or he's standing here looking calm but is practically unwilling to take his treats and you can't get him any further in, and if you up the pressure he will reverse, well, try and give him his feet as close to the trailer as you can get him to go, and as close to the trailer as you can get him to take his feet. Do that for a couple of days and see, well, if he goes here and has his bucket of feed and he stands here eating, and then maybe next day we can put him here with his bucket of feed, and then maybe next day we can put him here with his bucket of feed, and then gradually he will just learn that, well, it's just okay to go all the way into the trailer and it's a really nice place because I get my food in there. As you saw in the commercial for this webinar, you probably saw the small video with the black Icelandic. It's called Svartur. He actually has a history of trailer problems. He actually once jumped up on the bar in front of him, not while I had him, but with the previous owner. I actually didn't know that. I only found that out when I made the Danish commercial for the the Danish trailer webinar, then the previous owner came up and said, well, he actually once on the motorway jumped over the front bar because he got scared. And he has been really unwilling to load, not very much. He's a very well-behaved horse, but it was obvious that he didn't like it in the beginning. But now he's had so many good experiences, and he's had so much food inside the trailer that if I let him loose here, he will just walk directly into the trailer and have his feed. So you can overcome a lot of trailer anxiety and a lot of trailer issues with patience and food. One thing to bear in mind is that it is not a good solution to just have the horse follow. If many horses will load, if you have a bucket of feed and you just walk into the trailer in front of him with the bucket, you can have him go into the trailer with his head in the bucket. And you might even succeed in closing the trailer. But what might happen then is the horse suddenly realizes, oh, I'm in the trailer. I didn't know I was in the bucket. My head was in the bucket, so I was in the bucket. And then when he rises his head from the bucket, or the bucket is empty, he suddenly realizes, oh my, I'm in the trailer. And then he might panic. So that is not, don't feed him into the trailer, but train him to follow your signals. And I will come back to that in a minute. And give him the opportunity to get used to the trailer by having his feet in there. So if he stands here eating, he should be allowed to back out anytime he wants to, if you are training him to get used to the trailer, to get comfortable by the trailer, because the act of going in and out on his own accord really helps him to gain confidence in going in and out of the trailer and in staying into the trailer. Because if it's always just in and then close the doors quickly as you can, then there's never any choice for him. Then he's really shut in when he's in there. If you teach him that, well, you can go in and then you can come out again, and then you can go in and then you can come out again, it will take a lot of the stress out. Then of course, after he's gotten used to it, you have to teach him that you can also shut him in there. But if you can build up his confidence by letting him go in and out, that really pays in the long run. So that was a bit about, well, is my horse stubborn, or is he nervous, or what's really up? One of the other problems is, well, my horse loads fine, but then I can't either close the bum bar or the bum chain, or I can't close the ramp. I always recommend that when you put the horse in the trailer, first thing you do is put the horse in the trailer. You can go in with him. I recommend that if you have a divider in the middle, you go in the other room. You don't go in front of your horse in the same room, because if the horse suddenly jumps forward, you can be crushed on the front bar. So go in the other divider, in the other division of the trailer with your horse if you need to, and then don't tie him up. Go back out, close the bum bar or the bum chain, then you go out, close the ramp, and then you go in of the front door and tie him up. It's really, really dangerous to tie a horse if there's nothing stopping him in the back. So if he is tied up and he panics, he will either break his equipment, his halter, his lead rope, he might injure himself, and when something finally breaks, he might stumble backwards out of the trailer or flip over. So it's really a good idea to have him closed up, well and probably from behind, before you tie him up. That's really a safety matter. You might need, in the beginning, it might be a really huge advantage if you can have someone stand by his head inside the trailer and be able to put a bit of pressure on the lead rope if it tends to back out while you close. But in the end, you should be able to train your horse to that you can just, I prefer to stand here on the ramp, and then I load my horse. Horsey goes in, I stay on the ramp, I give him a small tap on the rump if need be. I close the bum bar, I close the other one, I close the ramp, I go tie him up, make sure everything is all right, and then we go. It's easy and it's safe. So this might take a lot of patience, and especially if your horse have been forced into the trailer or has been tied up and then closed and he has been scared, it might take some work to get to a place where you can actually comfortably make him stay in the trailer while you close the bum bar and you close the ramp. Another common problem is that your signals, you might be able to lead your horse very well, you might be able to get him to go with you anywhere as long as it's not close to the trailer. We will come back to that, how you train the signals, but if your signals just doesn't work close to the trailer, well, it's probably because they don't work that well to start with. And now we just have, they work in an easy setting, but now we have a hard setting and it doesn't work. So we have to get back to basics. Another common problem is that the horse is nervous while driving. Well, just as letting him get used to being in the trailer, you also have to build up gradually to make him used to be in the trailer while the trailer is driving, is moving. Take very, very short trips in the beginning and be really careful when you drive, that you drive slow around corners and roundabouts. If you have these slow down bumps in the road, drive really carefully over them. That's really troublesome for most horses. Some people also have the problem that they can get the horse in, but then the horse is afraid to back out again. And then you can train, if you know that is a problem, well, train 2 steps up, 2 steps down, 2 steps up, 2 steps down, 3 steps up, 3 steps down. So the horse will keep confident that he can manage this going up and this going down thing. If he has really big troubles going down the ramp, or if you don't have a ramp and you can't get him to make the step down, he might have need some sort of physical therapy to especially his back part, because that is under some pressure when you back down downhill. So if it continues to be a problem, maybe you should have the vet or the chiropractor give your horse a look over. Yes. Another problem, and I can also see from the questionnaire when you signed up that some of you had that problem. Another problem is that you don't have a trailer, so you can't practice. Well, I will get back to that, because you can practice a lot of basics with your horse without a trailer. And you can practice refining your forward, backward, stop, turn signals in a lot of settings. So when you finally have a trailer, if you borrow one, or if you lease one for a while, or someone at your barn leases one, and you can have a small training session, then you will have much more out of that training session, because you have made some prior and proper preparations, which is always good. Yes. So that is a bit of different problems you can have, and you can see you're not alone. There's a lot of people having these problems. And I will tell you about a bit, go to the learning theory part now. I will just go over that very fast. I will send you a link to a webinar I made on learning theory earlier, so you can look at that if you want to, if you need a bit more on that. I have a 1-hour webinar just on that. So this is just going to be the very short 5 minutes version. but it should give you the basic understanding on how to work on refining your signals. So I'm just going to go on screen share here. There was my mouse, screen share. Yeah. There it goes. So what we have here is, sorry, is basically what the learning theory is all about. We have two parts split up in the middle here. Everything is in the top here with the green arrow. That is reinforcement. Reinforcement is everything that increases behavior. What we have the other way, and I won't spend time on that today, but that is punishment. That is everything that decreases behavior. When it comes to trailer loading, it is essential that my horse is trustful and confident in me and confident in the trailer. So I won't use any kind of punishment-based training. I won't usually use that, but in this regard, it is extremely important because we need the horse to be confident, to be comfortable, to feel safe around the trailer. So this reinforcement part and also the punishment part is also split in this way. Because we have over here, this is a big minus. This is the negative part. And I put the negative in small and down here because we really have to think of this as math. It's not good or bad, it's math, it's adding and subtracting. So if I have negative reinforcement, we use this every time we're around our horses, we can't help it. And the funny thing about learning theory is that it works regardless of us being aware of it or not. It's always working, it's always affecting the way our horses interact with us. So negative reinforcement is that when my horse does the right thing, I remove something unpleasant. It might be that I come walking with him and I pull a bit on the lead rope to make him stop, and the minute I make him stop, I release on the lead rope. It could also be if I'm riding, I want him to go faster, I give him a bit of pressure with my legs, and the minute he reacts to the leg pressure and moves faster, I release my legs. If I want to stop him, I pull a bit on the rein or increase the contact a bit, and the minute he reacts, I release. If we forget to release, our signals will grow less effective. So this is really important in all parts of horse trainings, that we are aware of when we release, how much we release, and what our horse was doing when we released the pressure. Because sometimes we just release at the wrong time. If my horse backs up, if I have put pressure on my horse to go forward, and he then backs off away from the trailer, and I end up releasing, then I actually rewarded him for going backwards instead of forward. And that is also one of the reasons that I encourage people when trailer training to use the smallest amount of pressure possible. Because if the horse then does something unexpected and we release, the reward will also only be a small one, because it was a small pressure that he got rid of. And it is a lot easier to follow a horse with a small pressure than follow him with a large pressure if he does something unexpected. So really think about giving small cues to the horse, small amounts of pressure, release for the slightest try, and then ask again for the same thing, and again release for the slightest try. So we really makes it easy for him to do the right thing. The other part of the reinforcement is the positive one. And the positive reinforcement is when we add something nice. It might be my horse takes a step into the trailer, I give him a treat. Or I come walking with my horse, I say, whoa, he stops, I give him a treat. Or if I use clicker training, which is highly effective also in horses, it's not just for dogs. If I use clicker training, then when I click my horse and add a treat, it's also positive reinforcement. And it gives me a way of really putting the timing right, because sometimes it's hard to give the treat at exactly the right point, but I can always click my horse at exactly the right point of time. Yes. So this is what we have to be aware of when we're training our horse. We have to be aware of when we are reinforcing him and what we are reinforcing him for. Because it doesn't matter if it is intended reinforcement or unintended reinforcement. As long as we reinforce him for something, we will have more of that behavior. So this could also be a way of being aware in your everyday training, whether you're riding or ground handling or lunging or doing something else, how you're rewarding or reinforcing your horse. And it might give some solutions to problems you might have because of wrong timing or wrong reinforcements. Yes. So this is what you're going to keep in your mind when you go and start refining your basic signals. So how can we use this then? What are we going to do? How are we going to implement this knowledge about the learning theory into our trailer training? Well, the easiest, what we're going to start with is we're going to start with the basics. We're going to have our horse away from the trailer. We're going to have him lead well. There she was. We're going to have him lead well. And the best, quite often, people will lead in front of their horse. And that works in a lot of situations. There's also a lot of horsemanship-based training where the horse have to lead only on your body language. Then if I want to stand here and have my horse go forwards on its own, well, there's no body language to lead on. There's no one to follow. And all of a sudden I realized that I haven't trained my maybe my verbal forwards. I use for forwards before I put any kind of pressure on my horse. And I want my horse to be able to lead from the side without me moving. So if I stand here, I will start by saying, then I will tap him. I will have a whip in my other hand. I will put a bit of forwards pressure on the rein. I will tap him a bit with the rein while I keep saying until he starts moving, and then I will take away the pressure both on the lead rope and from the whip, and then we will start walking. And as long as he walks nicely in the right pace, then I will not put pressure on the lead rope, and I will not tap him with the whip, with the stick. But the moment he slows down, I will of course start with applying and then apply a bit of pressure. So we have to train all these basic signals with walking forwards, stopping, walking backwards, turning left, turning right. Train that away from the trailer. And you can train that even if you don't have a trailer to train it in. No problem. You just go on and really work on improving all these basic signals in a lot of different situations. You can train him going forwards into the wash stall. You can train him going forwards into his stall or something like that. If you stand next to him, he has to go in front of you through the door. You can have a couple of poles laid out on the ground, and you have to put him through them while you stand next to him and send him in. You can have him going over tarpaulin. I will show you a picture here of one of my students from one of my online courses. She doesn't have a trailer for everyday use, so she's been practicing a lot, doing different kinds of training. Her horse had a problem about going on the ramp to the horse trailer, so now she has a ramp into a different part of the stable, and she can practice here. So we have the upward slope of the ramp. We have the small confined space in here. It's dark, and it's a really good trailer simulator. And it really helps the horse to find out, well, this is actually okay. I can actually go in here. And then next time she has a trailer available, it will be a lot easier for her to put her horse in the trailer, because she has really improved her forwards, her stop, her back up in a lookalike situation to trailer loading. So use your imagination. Find a lot of different setups where you can train your horse. Maybe some days it's stormy, some days it's raining, some days there are a lot of action going on at your barn. That is also another way of increasing the difficulty levels and practicing your basic signals and refining them even more. So go out there, get the training done, practice, 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 and be really aware of the learning theory. If you find that you keep putting the horse into the trailer and you doesn't feel like it's getting anywhere, and you think you're reinforcing at the right time, well, have someone observe you, because it's a question of going up to the trailer, putting a bit of pressure on the horse, and for the slightest forward move, you release the pressure, maybe give him a rub, maybe give him a treat, and then you ask for a bit more, release the pressure, and so on. And then maybe if he has taken 3-4 steps up, you back him down, give him a small break, and then you start again. And you shouldn't train when you're doing this. If it's hard on the horse, train maybe for 10, 15, 20 minutes at the max with small breaks in between, because it's really hard on the horse to work with this. It really requires brain power, and it will make him tired. So if you don't feel that you're improving as you thought you should be, because you feel like you're doing the right things, and you're also giving him a chance to get used to the trailer by having some feed inside the trailer, as fine as he will go and as fine as he can eat, well, have someone else observe your training. Maybe they can see, well, you're releasing a bit too late, or you're actually releasing a bit too soon, or you're not releasing, he's actually trying a lot, but maybe you want 4 steps before you release and he's only ready for you. It would be more effective if you just released after 1 step and then let him be. So really work on that. And then you need to, or you could have, if you don't have anyone to observe you, well, set up a video camera or set up your phone to record you, so you can see afterwards, well, what did I actually do? Because sometimes what we think we're doing is not really what we actually are doing. So that can give you a lot of valuable information on how to improve your training settings. Then I really, I can't emphasize this enough, Use training instead of force. Help your horse to understand your forward signal, your stop signal, your backward signal. Train him to be confident and calm inside the trailer. Let him get used to it. Let him eat his food in there. Because it will give him a high learned motivation to go into the trailer. And that's a lot better than a high learned motivation not to be outside the trailer. Some horsemanship guys, they have this philosophy that we just have to make it more uncomfortable outside the trailer than inside the trailer. And it works, no problem, it works. But maybe they come out, they help you, they make it really uncomfortable for the horse outside the trailer, and the horse run into the trailer for comfort. But he's still scared of being inside the trailer. It hasn't comforted him one bit about being in the trailer. It is just worse to be on the outside. Then you go somewhere with him, then you have to put him back in the trailer. Then you realize you can't or you won't make it as uncomfortable outside the trailer as the trainer did, or as you did on that clinic you went to, or whatever. And then you can't get him in, because now he's been really convinced that it is not nice to be in the trailer either, because he was scared on the drive as well and stuff like that. So it really usually comes back at you and bite you in the heels sooner or later if you use these methods of making the outside more uncomfortable than the inside. So I can't recommend that strategy. I would rather that he goes in because it's a nice and safe place to be, or at the least that he is following my cues, my signals, because I've trained them very well, and he is maybe not totally comfortable. Maybe he won't go in on his own if he's got a choice, but he's okay and he's not scared. He doesn't arrive at the show or wherever totally sweaty. And he can eat a bit of his hay on the road and stuff like that. So you also need to practice loading. You need to practice unloading. And it's really good to practice to load and to close up and do everything without having to drive, so that your horse learns that, well, sometimes I have to go in here, and she closes up the door and it's all right, and I just have my dinner in here and I stay here for 5 minutes or 10, and then she comes, she opens the door and she takes me out again, and maybe I go in once again and then I go out again, and it's really okay, no problem, because then the horse will learn that, well, this is really nice, and I don't necessarily have to go on a long haul the minute I go into the trailer. I'm in the middle of further education. I'm doing a trainer education on top of my instructor education, and we are every second month we are meeting for a weekend. And after the first weekend, when we had to go home, all instructors were tired, all horses were tired, and some of us had more trailer trouble than we would actually like. A lot of our horses, a lot of us have horses that we have had some sort of troubles with, and that's what got us started both on the instruction and the trainer education. And they weren't 100% trailer proof. They were okay, and we could easily load at home, and it worked well. And then we had a really hard weekend. It was really nice training, but it was still mentally challenging for both us and the horses. And horses were tired, we were tired. And it gave us a lot of trailer troubles when we had to go home, because, well, horses said, well, last time I went there, it was a long ride, and I'm tired, and I don't want to go anywhere. I just want to go in my box or my paddock and have my hay. And we said, well, come on, horses, we are also tired. The next clinic we had, where we met up, well, during the weekend, everybody fed their horses in the trailers at least once a day. So every horse had the opportunity to say, well, okay, I'm here, I'm at the clinic, and oh, I'm just going back in for my lunch, fine. And I'm out again. And next day I'm going back in for my lunch, fine. And the final day, well, I'm going back in for my lunch. Oh, we're going home. Okay, fine, no problem. And we were loading in minutes. It was perfect. And it was really fun because we were all, well, really tired and anxious and wanted to go home. And then it was just do, 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 clap. And then you heard from the trailer behind you, do, 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 clap. No problems at all. So you have to keep working on keeping that motivation high. Even if you have at the moment a trailer-proof horse that just loads, keep him motivated by sometimes just putting him in the trailer for fun, giving him a bit to eat in there, and taking him back out. Because then he will really become motivated to go in there. And if you then one day stand there and you're going at a show and you are 15 minutes late because the alarm didn't go off or something, and you need him to load fast, even if you're a bit stressed out, he will just load. So keep that in mind. Practice, 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 and practice well. So what you need to check, I will show you this checklist, and then I will wrap it up. It's like where to start. So we have the checklist. You need to start with making sure that your horse can go forwards, he can stop, he can back up, he can go left, he can go right, regardless of your position to him. Are you in front of him? Are you next to him? Are you a bit to the back of him? It just has to work. Then you look, will he walk on the ramp? Or if you have a step-up trailer, will he go up to the trailer, put his head in? And will he take treats so close to the trailer? Then, when that works fine, you check, well, will he go into the trailer? And that might be a longer process too. It might be 2 feet in, 3 feet in, 4 feet in. And will he eat? And then you can check, well, will he stay in the trailer with no or little pressure? Maybe he needs a lot of time to be allowed to go in, have grab a bit of food, back out, chew a bit, go in again. And then when he finds out, well, there's really no pressure here, he will be more relaxed and he will stay in the trailer. Then you have to check, is the horse calm when your bum bar or your bum chain is moved, when you rustle a bit with it and when you close it, or does he back out then? If he backs out, well, you have to practice a bit more with the staying inside the trailer, and then you rustle a bit with stuff and move around a bit at the end of him until he's totally calm about that as well. When that works, well, is the horse calm when the ramp is closed? Because you also have to pay attention to what does he say to the people or to the ramp being closed. You might have to do that really carefully to begin with. And you have, of course, to check that the horse can be back out and check that throughout the process, so you don't end up with a horse that can go all the way in, but then you find out he can't get out. And then you have to check that he's standing calmly and he's eating while you're driving. I really love having a camera in my trailer. I have a GoPro helmet cam, and that is really great use. I have it mounted up here in front of my trailer when we go anywhere, so I can keep an eye, and then it can talk to my cell phone and via wireless and show me what's going on inside my trailer, so I can look at my horse while we're driving somewhere. And that's really nice, so I know if there's a bit of rumbling around or something, well, it was just him readjusting himself or whatever, or I can see if there is a problem, and I can see if he's eating his hay or if he's not. So that's the checklist. So that was what I was going to say today. Remember your learning theory. Remember to reinforce what you want and not reinforce him for something wrong. Remember to train him to be calm and confident around the trailer. Use food. Let him eat in the trailer. Don't lead him in with the bucket, because it takes all his attention on the bucket, and he might suddenly be surprised that he's in the trailer and he might get scared, and you might have him bolting back out of the trailer again when he realizes where his went. So don't cheat him by leading him with the bucket, but do feed him inside the trailer and help him to get comfortable with the trailer in that way. Yes, thank you. If you find out that there's a question that you didn't ask, you are watching the replay and you have questions, just feel free to email me via the chat, no problem, and I will get back to you as soon as possible. Thank you. I'll see you soon on another webinar.